partner with and work with a lot of museums and art centers in the area. And maybe a year or two ago, we were asked to be a part of the Gordon Parks exhibit. And what we had to do is we had to find a picture from the exhibit and we had to write a poem to that. And one of them jumped out at me for so many reasons. And it was the woman who was standing in front of the Sanger Theater underneath the colored entrance sign. And I have like a family history and story that goes back with that sign and that theater, so I couldn't help but to write this piece to it. And I call this Legacy. An overcast day in 1956. In downtown Mobile on a busy sidewalk, she stands. She and her favorite auntie dressed in their Sunday best, underneath the sign that reads colored entrance. Because somebody said it was in black folks' best interest to stay separate but equal. But this girl, all 4 feet and 6 years of her, will never succumb to complacency, nor bear the burden of mediocrity. And though all of her magnificence may not yet understand the significance of existing in this moment in time, she'll become all too familiar with trial and tribulation because society already made the determination that her skin color somehow makes her inferior. And I wonder deep down, does she know that it's just because they fear her and everything she's capable of? See, this black girl magic be kind of hard to hide and contain. It comes with a crown, and the essence of royalty is constantly pumping through your veins. It shows off a glow of melanated skin and a light so illuminating that even the sun starts to look dim so quite naturally. Some folks just might be scared of you. So they make it illegal to drink from certain fountains, try to silence your voices, tell you to only be seated in certain sections and take away your choices, but with a smile that houses optimism and defiance perfectly side by side. Without saying a word, you'll see that she's able to project legacy and pride. She'll never go along just to get along. She'll always push back against the system. Armed with a boldness and rebellion, she will continue to reject racism for the virus that it is, and there may never be a vaccine, a deep stain on this world that may never come clean. She will continue to break down barriers, and so will her sons and her daughters, never looking back, and never will they falter. And their legacy will continue to shape this world one beautiful soul at a time. And it's because of their sacrifices that today, colored entrance signs are now museum exhibits, so that we are reminded of segregation's ills in days that we hope to never.
All right.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to piggyback off of what my president just did. I was also given the opportunity to pick out a picture and speak on what that portrait meant to me. With this being Black History Month, first off, I want to give a huge shout out to every one of you that are in this room. You all are living, breathing examples of ancestral history. So take some time out this month to give yourselves a pat on the back and congratulate yourself.
All
right.
This piece, I apologize, I do not have it memorized, but the portrait was a young man was sitting out on his porch. And I'm assuming these were his two siblings, a brother and a little sister. And they appeared to be playing in the bed. But he was on the porch with a gun in his hand. And it just basically took me back to a lot of the history that we've had to hear from our ancestors. So I came up with this piece. I lived during times of hatred and destruction. Awaking every morning, I'm praying, wishing, hoping. Maybe today I won't have to fight for my life. Just to live as a human being. Yeah. That would be nice. But instead, I am on this porch with this gun in my hand. Your skin color isn't a threat. Can you possibly understand what it's like to simply want to be treated humanely? Guilty until proven innocent. Yet you're the one complaining. We scowl and mean mug, forced to accept being mistreated, while they go home to their families. Talk about the events of the evening. Able to walk freely without a need for protection, that would be grand. In a land built on murder, that's why I'm on this porch. gun in my hand.
So since we're doing Gordon Parks,
Okay, stay on the aisle.
and I'm not even about to try to apologize for this.
Right.
If you do nearly as much as we have to do, you're never gonna remember. So I'm just gonna read. So, like my cohort said before, and by the way, I'm sorry, I go by Eternity Everlasting, of course, even if I'm just being honest. 06 to the homecoming team, follow what's on hold. But I see a lot of y'all in here, so shout out to y'all. The photo that I chose was a photo of an older gentleman sitting in the middle of a living room, getting his hair cut. Because in this part of Alabama, there were no barbershops for black men to go to. There were a few kids playing in the floor, and what it really reminded me of was the barbershop that I actually grew up in. It was really, really old school. It's actually still standing in Somerville, it's Bobby Allen. It's a barbershop that I grew up in. And I mean, everything from the visuals that were in this house reminded me of just kind of that old time barbershop. You know, you look at the picture and you smell hot lather, and you see the razors, and you can see the sharp work, all of that stuff. So that's what stood out to me. And the reason that I even brought up, being a member of Alpha Alpha is because my grandfather was a member. And I watched this man grow up, and it's a lot of things that he did that I emulated growing up. And it's the reason that he inspired me to also become a member of that fraternity. So, with that being said, a black Cadillac pulls up to 1728 West Pritchard Avenue. 858 on the front tag. As I rush out the door, I come to a halt to kiss my mama goodbye because it's the weekend, baby, and you know it's time for me to go and get right. Because you see, Saturday mornings were where the grown-ups went to go get clean, and visiting the barber truly had me. So I embraced the click, hum, and the sight of the follicles falling from the clippers down the cape, because I knew that this meant I was in route to being as what my grandfather called sharp as a razor's edge. Though as fate would have it, times like this didn't always exist. So the stories I heard while I was at that shop, I never wanted to miss. See, it's a shame that in my lifetime, I've known what it means to be seen as good enough for service, but less than a person. Personally, it's assumed to be something within, like we all don't carry original sin. So to know that my grandfather, who fought for the colors of the red, white, and blue, had to come back home and get his hair cut in a living room, makes me remember that race and class still loom, see. The barber pole stripes spin circles above the door while 4 little kids play on this living room floor while Papa sat in the heavy metal chair, because sitting in the shop like we did in his time was rare. And not so much in the major cities, but the small ones like that. So to be tended to by a craftsman with such precision was hit and never miss. And he would playfully say to me, this son, this right here, you see this? This is why we don't cheat on our bars. So I hold on to these stories dearly as I flip the switch to hear the click and then the hum as I glide the clippers across my father's head. And I watch that hair run, because much like back in the day, between me and my grandfather, for now my father and I, this was more than a grooming experience. This was bonding.
All right.